The heart of that nickname, though, is a lot of admiration. I wonder, when did you decide not to be limited by one title or one function?
I never knew that the way people described you would become a prison until they did it. When I met me, I was not a preacher. So I didn't know that they would incarcerate me with the title. You are at your best when you are authentic to your core, and you have to be what you are, not what they call you. Sometimes, you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes people will call you a name and you start living up to the name, and it limits you from what else God wants to do in your life, you know? And by the way, I get a lot of credit for inventing this, but the credit is really misplaced. Because when you think of the Apostle Paul, he was a writer. He was a thinker, respected by the thinkers of his age at a time when there were profound thinkers in Paul's age, known for his ability to be progressive intellectually. He was a speaker, he was a writer, he was a tent maker. He was able to influence Aquila and Priscilla, not because of his preaching, but because of his business. Influence and affluence of relationship emerged that affected the kingdom. When you look at Jesus, who was a carpenter's son, and later they called him a carpenter, he who handled wood ended up nailed to a tree. And what happens in life as we evolve as a person, we cannot allow ourselves to be incarcerated by anything that people would describe us with, because we limit then what the Holy Spirit can do in your life. You understand?
I do.
Let me jump in and say this one quick thing. I think if Jesus had come in our day, he would have been a filmmaker. But because they didn't have films, he told parables. But if you think about it, parables are movies made of words. If he were to come today, he would have done films. Imagine these accoutrements that attach itself to religion often block our view from revelation. Yeah, and because I was raised by a dying father, born in between two dead babies, I really value the preciousness of life. The baby before me died and the baby after me died, and my mother clutched to me as only a mother can who has lost a child. And an appreciation for the value of life and a refusal to allow anybody to take away the great privilege of being alive. I will think for myself. I will move in my own direction. You can say whatever you want to say about it, but I'm gonna be me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the core of everything, SOAR is saying, don't be limited. Don't put a period because you did one thing that you can't do something else, that you can't be something else, that you can't evolve as an individual, that you can't explore other idioms of thought.
For the person who is trying to decide, who am I, what can I do? I don't know yet, I haven't tried yet. I think I know what I have, I don't know if I have it or not. How do we know the difference between staying in our comfort zone versus going beyond our capacity?
You're only measured in terms of success by his investment in terms of contribution. If he gave one man 1 talent, another man 2 talents, and another man 5 talents, he didn't expect the man with 1 talent to produce 10, but at least give me 2. The man who had 2 talents came back with 4. The man with 5 talents came back with 10. The man with 2 talents came back with 4. The man with 5 came back with 10. Those are the same things. That's 100-fold. The man with 1 came back with nothing. Now, the Apostle Paul says that when we compare ourselves with one another, in so doing it is not wise, because we don't have the same starting place. So if I'm gonna make success predicated on what my neighbor had, that is only fair if I started with what my neighbor started with.
Us, when we hear about the parable of the talents, we don't know, well, do I have 1? Do I have 2? Do I have 5? I don't want to get out there and do something stupid that I wasn't meant to do, but I don't want to stop short.
You're really hitting on something. First thing, I am in touch with myself in a way that a lot of people are not. I know me. I've dated me.
Cool.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's true. I've dated me. I know me. You know, when you date somebody, you explore them to see who they are. Most people are so busy dating other people they never dated themselves. You understand? When God says to Adam, the very first command God says to Adam is to be fruitful. You can only be fruitful if you are seedful. Okay, so we're talking about the difference between fruit and seed. Identifying your seed is what causes you to be fruitful. The first revelation of seed should happen in your family. You should have parents who are looking at their kids looking for seeds. I'm gonna give you my grandbaby story. You asked for it, you're gonna get it. You're just gonna get it. So we're in my church and it's dark and my grandbaby's in there and a bunch of friends are in there and we're taking pictures and I can't find the light. And you know, the lights are complicated and I can't figure out how to turn all this stuff on. And so we're trying to get some pictures. And so my grandbaby ran and she says, wait a minute, Paul, I'm gonna get a flashlight. She went up under the pew where we have hidden flashlights, snatched down a flashlight and brought it over and said, now take the picture. And so I said to her, I said, baby, don't you wanna be, Kenzie, don't you wanna be in the picture? She said, no, I don't wanna be in the picture, I wanna hold the light. That's the seed right there. That's the seed right there. So we came back to the house and I was getting ready to take a picture and I'm trying to keep up with you millennials, you know, it's so hard. And I was trying to take a selfie and I got a timer, you know, where you can back up and go, you know, if you follow me on Instagram, you know this is true. And so I couldn't get my phone to sit up. And she went and got some books and propped it up. And I told my daughter, I said, put her in leadership classes, put her in management classes. She's a problem solver. That starts early. Her instinct in a situation is to solve the problem. She says, I don't want to be in the picture, I want to hold the light. Those are seeds. Okay. Directing that child toward an area where you can cultivate what God has planted down inside of them is important. It's very, very important. Mm-hmm. There are people in this room that have dormant seeds laying inside of them, that if they get in the right atmosphere, they're gonna turn into things you have never seen before. They didn't always have the benefit of parents who could see it or had time to see it or knew how to see it. But even as adults, there are still seeds down in you that have not been touched yet. That's what happened to Elisha. He was fulfilling his parents' vision, plowing in the field. That boy wasn't no farmer. Just because you can run a plow doesn't mean you're a farmer. But sometimes we get stuck in what people expect. Right. And we never find out who we are because we're living somebody else's dream. And so there he is plowing in the field doing what his daddy wanted and going around and said, I guess this is all life has for me. And he's going around and around in circles. Like many people are listening to me right now. You go to work, go to church, go home. Go to work, go to church, go home. Go to work, go to church, go home. You're plowing around in circles until Elijah passed by him. And then he was exposed to something. The moment he was exposed to something greater, he dropped something lesser. You understand what I'm saying? Got it. That's why conversations like this are important. Because really, I'm not throwing seeds, I'm throwing fertilizer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if it hits a seed, it's gonna give birth to companies and businesses and books and artistry and drama and all kinds of stuff that's in this room that people never have given themselves permission to burn their plow. Yeah. That's what this book is all about, Pastor. It is about, I'm not against people working a job, but we have entrepreneurs in a job and you're frustrating the company and you. Nobody likes you. They don't like you.
Let me ask you this because
you're scared of what I'm getting ready to say.
Like entrepreneur is a trendy title these days. Mm-hmm. Hear it more and more. Mm-hmm. It's not a weird thing anymore. It's kind of sexy to post, you know, on my grind and, what do you think about that, Bishop? Because I would imagine that generationally, I know enough about how you grew up. Maybe people would like to hear a little bit about what it means to you. What's the essence of entrepreneurship to you, your value system, versus how you see it being portrayed culturally now, especially in a younger generation.
Well, most of the time today when people say they're on their grind, they overslept, they're laying on the couch and they're eating cereal.
That's what it means?
Yeah, that's what it means today. That is not what it meant in my day, and that is not what makes people successful. I have to be careful about even going down this road. I have been so blessed to get in the room with some of the most incredible people on the planet. I had lunch the other day with the CEO of AT&T, and we sat for hours and hours talking and interacting with each other and became friends. Last Sunday, I was invited to Oprah's house as she launched her book, and I've seen her behind the scenes and seen how she operates, who she is and what she does.
Pretty nice place?
Instead of burning my plow when I came home, I started to burn down my house, okay? I said, I'll set it afire, the insurance will pay for it. I've seen people who were on their grind. I've seen Steve Harvey's on his grind. I've seen people on their grind. What on the grind really is a work ethic that would blow your mind. It would blow your mind. I'm 60 years old, and everybody who works for me is younger than me, and they'll tell you, I'll work you up under the table. I'll work you up under the table.
Where does that come from?
My father. My father, absolutely. My father is real. Let me tell you, this chair is about to break. My father's sitting here and my mother is sitting here, and they're fighting for the mic from moment to moment. My grandmother talks to you every now and then. All of my ancestors are sitting on this table all the way back to Nigeria. All of them. My ancestors were Igbos from Nigeria. And Igbos are called Black Jews, that they're industrious, that they go after things, that they're hardworking people. So all the way back in my DNA, we were self-sufficient. And all of them are sitting here. Folks whose name I can't even call. So what we're talking about is culture, okay? And not racial culture, family culture. Where the demonstration of what my father decided what grinding was. You weren't grinding till Daddy said you were grinding.
Gotcha.
Take your hands out your pocket, boy, like you got $1 million in your pocket. They trained us not to be lazy. They talked about lazy like it was a disease. I mean, like it was
the worst thing you could be.
It was the worst thing you could be, and you're not really on the grind. Here's the problem. The Bible said Benjamin, Jacob was dying, laying in the bed. Talking about fathers to son. He's laying in the bed, he's dying. And he sat up. The Bible said Israel strengthened himself. Notice that, Israel strengthened himself, sat up in the bed. And he said, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning, he shall devour the prey. And in the evening, he shall divide the spoils. Notice the time clock there.
Yep.
In the morning, you devour the prey while you're young. See there?
That's the intensity thing I was talking about. You see that? Imagine when he has a steak knife across the table.
One lady jumped back 3 rows, just said, in the morning.
I see a lady really scared out right here.
My mother was a school teacher. She was dramatic. In the morning, you should devour the prey. In the evening, you should divide the spoils. If you don't devour when you're young, you'll have nothing to divide when you're old.
It's incredible.
I am scared to death of people who are young and saying, I just can't figure it out. I haven't made up my mind yet. I tried that, I didn't like it. I don't know, maybe I'll do that. I think you better hurry.
Right. Right.
You better shoot something right now,
Right.
because youth goes quick.
Right.
I mean, like, it goes like a runaway slave. It goes. Youth is an Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman. It gets away, okay? So, hear me, people. In the morning, devour something. Throw your whole self at something. You'll never know what you can do and what you can be until you throw your whole self at it. Devour it. I mean, devour it. Don't try it. Devour it. Attack it. Attack it like you're going to kill it. Devour the prey. And in the evening, you divide the spoils. We have it backwards today. We want to divide the spoils in the morning. So we're blinging when we ought to be devouring. See, don't worry about whose name you wear when you're young. Worry about your name. God told Abraham, I will make your name great.
Yeah.
I will make your name great. There is an old person down inside of you that's dependent on you to be smart. It's the person you're going to be 30, 40 years from now. Do not disappoint that person by being foolish through the strongest years of your life. And then when your back is out and your knees are swollen and you can't move around, now you're out there going to get your grind on now? It is the message you tell yourself. I'm tired, I can't do that, I don't feel like. What we become what we say to ourselves.
Be good.
You will never win the Olympics talking about, oh no, I don't feel like working out today. I don't know, I'll do it when I feel like it. If I don't feel like it, I don't do this because I'm not into working out. I want to get the trophy. I want the trophy, but I don't want to go through what it takes to get it. You devour in the morning. You divide in the evening. And if you try something and it doesn't work, it's okay. Try something else. If my son said to me, he said, Daddy, he said, my baby boy, he said, Daddy, I'm going to school. He's finishing up a 4-year degree in musical engineering. He said, I think it's the thing I want to do. But he sat at the dining room table with me. He said, but suppose I'm not. Suppose it's not. Suppose I throw everything at it and it's really not the thing. And I leaned back over the table and I said, don't worry about it, son. If it is not the thing, it will be the thing that leads to the thing.
Okay.
Tyler Perry was fresh out of sleeping in his car.
Right.
And I was fresh out of money. And so we got together and collaborated and did a play called Woman Thou Art Loose. And we toured the country doing Woman Thou Art Loose. And then we went to LA and did it. And a guy named Reuben Cannon was in the audience. You never know who's in your audience. Footnote to preachers, speakers, singers, anybody on the stage. Never adjust your performance to the crowd because you never know who's in the crowd. You never know. Always respect your audience with your best performance. I don't care if it's 3 people. One of those people might change the trajectory of your life. So Reuben Cannon was in the crowd and he saw the play and he said, I want to make it a movie. He said, I want to make it a movie. I didn't have no movie money. Movie and money both start with the M for a reason, okay? When you have one, you got to have the other. But he said something to me that becomes the way business people think. They don't fail to do something because they don't have the money. He says, we'll raise the money. Let's do the movie. Listen to the difference in attitude. I can't do it because I don't have the money. He doesn't see money as an issue. If you see it as an issue, it'll be a stop sign. He says, oh, we'll raise the money. So Cedric the entertainer, and I can't remember who all, Oprah put some money in it, and different people put some money in it because he knew them. Relationships are your greatest resource. People who don't like money don't like resources because everything that's ever going to come to you is going to come through a person. That's why you got to be careful how you treat people because it's not guaranteed that it'll be somebody you like, your friend. They won't necessarily be your color and they may not have your theology. okay? But God may use them to bless you. You know, the ravens didn't go to church, but they fed Elijah. So anyway, so we put the money together. Where you are with your best effort, even if it is not it, it will lead to it. So as you walk along, you stumble into it. I was telling my church Sunday, if you go to the present with your attention.
Yeah, I like that.
To be present in the moment.
I like that.
That is so important. And sometimes I have to make myself do it because I'm such a planner. I'm so strategic. I'm really 10 years ahead of where the calendar is right now. I'm waiting on it to catch up. I got plans. And what you do with that opportunity is your gift to him.
Got it.
You understand? When God gives you an opportunity, instead of just jumping on the opportunity, you're supposed to see what it can be. I tell them all the time, you know, God never made not one table.
Yeah, I love this. Do this. This is really.
God never made a chair. In all of his years of being God, he's never made a chair. He's never made a table. He just made a tree. And the rest of it was up to us.
Right.
When God hands you a tree, imagine a table, a chair, imagine a wall in a room, imagine a log cabin, imagine what it can be, imagine what it can be, imagine what it can be. God of mercy. If he hands you a child, imagine what it can be. If he hands you a spouse, imagine what he can be. Oh God, I feel his power. I feel his presence. Everybody is almost paralyzed in fear because God gave him his roar as his defense. The cheetah says, I can't roar like that, but I can run like the wind. The cheetah he goes running through the woods because God made him able to run because that's his defense. The eagle spreads his wings and soars into the air and says, I can't run, but I can fly. God let the eagle be able to fly because it was his defense. And I'm walking around in the jungle and I said, well, Lord, I can't fly like the eagle. I can't run like the cheetah. I can't roar like the lion, and I can't throw my weight around like the elephant. What did you give man as his defense in the whole ecosystem of life force? What did you give me? He said, I gave you a brain. Your brain is your defense. That's why God didn't make chairs. He only brings it halfway. And then lets you imagine,
collaboration,
create, develop. You understand what I'm saying? The problem with church people is that we are taught that God makes furniture. So we pray and 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 pray. Oh, I need a table. I need a table. God, give me a table. Give me a table, Jesus. Just one table, Lord. If you give me a table, I'll praise you. If you give me a table, I'll serve you. And God says, I don't do that. I make trees. I want you to look around your life for trees, not tables. God's gonna bring it within the reach of your mind, and your creativity is gonna take it the rest of the way. And it's gonna turn into apps, and it's gonna turn into Apple phones, and it's gonna turn into computers, it's gonna turn into satellite systems in the heavens. Look at what all we were able to do. No other creature, no other species has sent satellites up into the air, created smartphones. Look at what we did with our head. Why are we in church not using our head? I don't understand it. You know, in my neighborhood, they got this song, you know, that the young people you're doing. You understand? But that's not gonna help me. That's none of my business. God bless you. If I can help you, you know I will. But I'm not over in your business. I'm never gonna be over in your business, because every time you turn around, I'm staring at mine. For this season, for this stage, for this age in my life, what could I do with what I have left? Your miracle is never in what you lost. It is always in what you have left. If you're down to a handful of meal, that's all you need. If you're down to 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, that's all you need. And so when you start looking at what you have left, stop grieving over what you lost. Because if you needed it, you wouldn't have lost it. It might only be a pot of oil, but if it's left, the miracle's always in what's left. So what can you imagine with that? That woman, that pot of oil would have never done anything if you didn't pour it. It would pour as long as there was capacity to receive.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about being strategic, and this is going to help you a whole lot. For me, once I envision where I'm going, then I can tell what I don't need.
Let's talk about that.
You see, if I packed to go on this trip based on where I was going, I checked the weather, I looked at the places I was going to speak, and everything that I thought I would need for where I was going, I put in the bag. And anything, I didn't pack no swimming trunks because I figured I wasn't going to need them. Why do I load down my bag with things I don't need? Okay? I want to circumspectly, with great precision, tailor my life down to the things that are necessary to get me where I'm trying to go. Stephen Mansfield, who is the CEO of Trying to Go That Is the Problem, it is what are you willing to leave behind to get there? When he said that, I ripped out my phone like I had to call somebody. I had both thumbs. I very seldom use both thumbs. I had both thumbs. I was just a packet at a packet at a packet. It's what are you willing to leave behind? If you're going to soar, if you're going to soar, you have to break a law to soar. The law is the law of gravity. The Wright brothers had to figure this out, that every time they tried to go up, Isaac Newton was right. Something kept pulling them down. There are people in this room that every time they go after their dream, something keeps pulling them down. They want to open up a not-for-profit. They want to open up a healthcare. They want to open up a home for unwed mothers. There's some lovely, good things. It's not about being rich. It's about purpose that they're trying to do, but every time they try to do it, that something keeps pulling them down. There is a law that always wants to pull you down to where you came from.
Yeah.
You came from the dirt, and where you came from will always call you back. You have to escape the gravitational pull of where you came from. And in order to do that, you have to break through into a higher law. The higher law is the law of aerodynamics. But you have to break into it, and what I need the force for it, the reason I need the runway to get my engines ramped up is because when I come up against it, and this is where young people make a mistake, they underestimate the pull to fall backwards. They saw planes take off and they said, I can do that, but they underestimate how much force it takes to break through the gravitational pull that brings you back down. So when they fall back down, they give up on themselves and they stop believing in themselves. Whereas if you would just go faster at it and go harder at it, you would break through the law of gravity. Oh, hallelujah.
Wow.
You know? Successful don't go into business based on their need, they go into business based on their customers' need. If your business or church or ministry solves a problem, it requires less marketing. You don't have to talk me into wanting something I need. But when I don't need it, you got to spend a whole lot of money talking me into something. So you want your business to be a solution. In fact, you want your life to be a solution. Nobody sends for a problem, they only send for an answer. If you're feeling lonely and you're feeling rejected, figure out how you can be an answer to somebody's problem and they'll always invite you. Because people invite answers, they repel problems. So when you come in the room giving problems, it is the most unsexy thing you can ever do in the world.
It's true.
Somebody far less cute can get much further than you because they don't moan and groan and complain. Really, when people ask to find a publisher that would do it, I finally found a publisher that would take my tapes and transcribe it into a book. But when I saw what they did with my answer, I got mad because it wasn't in my spirit. They were saying what women ought to do is such and such, what women ought to do. That was not my spirit. So out of desperation to protect the integrity of my spirit, I started pecking and pecking and pecking and pecking. And nobody would publish what I was pecking. So I told my wife, see, I'm talking about things that would stop you. Okay, nobody wants to publish it. The first person who did it wrong. And now I've got all of this stuff crammed in the Species Study Bible. And now I'm trying to pull it out and put it in a word machine. And I told my wife, I said, nobody wants to publish it. And if I publish it myself, they want $15,000. $15,000 was all the money I had in the world. We were saving that money to get our first house. We didn't even own our house. And I was trying to get us a house. And I said, Sarita, I want to publish this book. And it's going to mean that I have to drain our savings to do it. She said, that's okay. And so she agreed, and we took the $15,000 and we published the book. And we got 5,000 copies. And I sold out in 2 weeks. So watch this. I didn't go out and buy me a suit, though I needed one. The lining had come out of my suit because she was washing it in the washing machine because we couldn't afford to go to the cleaners. So I didn't buy me a suit with it. I took the money and put it back in the business and published another 5,000. I had no idea that that book would end up selling over 5 million copies. Be translated into 10 different languages. Be known to this day around the world in places I have never been. And it all started in my little bicycle shop. So when I talk to you about the Wright brothers soaring and catching the right wind, I'm talking to you about things I know that happened in my own life. I never let not having enough stop me from getting up.
Yeah.
I almost quit. I'm a country boy. I'm from West Virginia. I don't know nothing about this big time stuff. I never even asked to be big. I wanted to be effective, not famous. Famous is the consequences of being effective. I didn't know nothing about being famous and I didn't like it. And so there I was. And when you first knew, everybody attacks you first and figures you out later. Because though we say you're innocent until proven guilty, the reality is you're really guilty till proven innocent. But I didn't know that then, and I was young, upstart. You have to understand that you're looking at a 60-year-old man, but you're talking about something that's happening to a guy in his late 20s with little kids. And the first time I was in the Washington Post, the article was so vicious it made me nauseous. I was so shocked that you could say that stuff about somebody you didn't even know based on assumptions and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They piece it all together and you don't get to say anything back. So I decided I don't want this. I was preaching for Pastor Bishop Donnie Mears, and nobody knew it because preachers can override their feelings and function. I preached, the place was on fire, but inside I wanted to quit. I told God, I'm through with this. I'm not going through this. I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm a guy who likes to go get his own chicken wings. I don't have to have all of that stuff to be happy because I wasn't raised with it. I can make it. You throw me an apartment and give me just a little skillet, a cast iron skillet. You know what I'm talking about? And some seasoned salt and stuff and a couple of wings. I will run you out of here. I will run you out. Okay. So I thought, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this because I don't need this and I didn't ask for this. I'm only doing this because of what happened in my life, of the circumstances that happened in my life. He put me on stage. I didn't ask for it. And when I saw how much it cost, I thought, you can have that right back here. You have that right back up in here. I don't need it. So I was mad inside and I was hurt. And I stayed up in the fellowship with the pastors because I didn't want to go back to my room and sulk in my own sorrows. And they said, there's a lady downstairs waiting to see you. The service was over and the fellowship was over. The pastor was starting to leave. I was trying to outwait her. I thought she'd give up and leave. And when I finally came down the steps, she was there. And she was just a willowy bit of a woman. And she said, Bishop Jakes, she said, I've been in the hospital. She said, I was pregnant in my fallopian tubes, and the baby died in my tubes, and I was carrying around a dead baby, and the toxicity from the baby almost killed me. And she said, the only thing that kept me alive was hearing you preach. She said, if you hadn't been preaching to me every day, I swear I would have died. And then she looked at me and she said, it's for us. It's not for them. It's for us. It hit me so hard. I didn't even get her name. I got in the car and cried all the way back to my room because she reminded me why I was there.